All right. Can I request everyone to say sadhu to start the program, please?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Katang bhavitani cha kundaliya tini sucharitani katang bahuli katani chattaro satipattani paripurenti. Ida kundaliya bhikkhu kaya duccharitang pahaya kaya sucharitang bhaveti. Vachi juttaritang pahaya vachi sucharitang bhaveti. Mano juttaritang pahaya mano sucharitang bhaveti. Evang bhavitani ko kundaliya tini sucharitani evang bahuli katani chattaro satipattana paripurenti ti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today is 11th of March 2025, and we have been discussing this particular discourse for quite some time. The particular verse that I have just recited is from that particular discourse that we have selected a few months ago. And if you remember, it is the Kundaliya Sutta, which is in Connected Discourses in the mountain section. And if I may give you a bit of a background once again, as I usually do, this particular discourse is a discussion between a wanderer called Kundaliya and the Blessed One. And that happens when the Blessed One was dwelling in a deer park in Saketa. And what happens is this wanderer is someone, as the name suggests, is not a person who is just living in one place. He is going from place to place, from monastery to monastery, park to park, and then listens to talk. In other words, he's a person who is homeless, and is possibly not homeless because he's not having any means to live, but he's homeless by choice in order to look for an answer for the suffering, in order to engage in spirituality, or in order to find happiness. So therefore, when he met the Blessed One, he is asking the Blessed One, why are you living this life? What sort of argument are you putting forward? Because during those days in India, everyone is having their own point of view. And some people are saying everything based on physicality. Some other people says there is no eternity. And some other people are saying there is an eternity, and all sorts of views, and everyone were having their own justifications for it. But therefore, for that reason, Kundaliya thought even he's also having some viewpoint. And he asked, what viewpoint are you living this life for? Then the Blessed One says, I don't have any view as such, but my purpose of living this life is for the benefit and fruit of the true knowledge and liberation. So this was a bit of a radical answer for Kundaliya. Kundaliya straight away asked, what things have we got to do to develop and cultivate to reach this particular stage, to have the benefit and the fruit of true knowledge and liberation? Then the Blessed One says, you must develop the 7 factors of enlightenment. And then he is asking straight away, as like an interview, what have I got to do to develop that and cultivate it? Then he says, to develop and cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment, you will have to establish, or you will have to practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Then he's asking, what things have I got to do that? Then the Blessed One says, you will have to have 3 kinds of good conduct. And then he's asking, what have I got to do to get there, to have the 3 kinds of good conduct? Then he says, you will have to restrain your faculties. So once this question is answered, Blessed One is not allowing Kundaliya to keep talking. He straight away says, he was asking what has to be done, what has to be done, what has to be done. Now the Blessed One has started telling how to do it. He says, in order to, he's going from the descending order. Kundaliya was coming from the ascending order. Now Blessed One is going from the descending order. He says, restraint of faculties, when developed and cultivated, fulfills the 3 kinds of good conduct. And he's saying how it will be done. He says, restraint of faculties will be done in this manner. When you, for your faculties, when there is an object, you will have 2 options. One is you will agree to that object or disagree. Say, for example, for the eye, when you see something, there will have an agreeable situation or disagreeable situation. If it is agreeable situation, you don't just get overwhelmed by it. And if it is disagreeable situation, you don't start hating it outright and wholesale. That's the basic idea what the Buddha says. He says, similarly, it's not only for eye, ear, nose, and all the 6 faculties, you will have to do that way. And if you doing it that way, then you will be restraining your faculties. So we discussed that in detail in the past, and how we can do that is according to the according to another sutta, which is Clear Comprehension, Mindfulness and Clear Comprehension Sutta, or the Clear Comprehension Sutta. And it says, you will have to be mindful. If you are mindful, and if you are aware that you are mindful, then you will be able to restrain your faculties. So I'm not going to go into detail of that, because we have already discussed that. So the point I want to make is, this restraining of faculties can be done in 2 ways, either by force, because you are afraid of going to hell, or because you are afraid that you will be punished, or else you can be mindful, and when you are mindful, you see yourself. When you see yourself, and you start correcting yourself. So that is the remedy Buddha is presenting. And from mindfulness, we will be able to restrain our faculties. And the Buddha says, cultivation and development. When you cultivate that, it becomes restraining faculties. And when you develop, and when you come to the fulfillment of it, then it leads to 3 kinds of good conduct. Because you are doing it, you are restraining your faculties. Restraining faculties in the sense, you are restraining your physical and verbal activities. When you restrain your physical and verbal activities with mindfulness, you are restraining that with the involvement of the mind. So therefore, since the mind is involved, your conduct becomes good. It is not only the physical and verbal, even the mental conduct will be good. So when you really complete the fulfillment or the restrainment of the faculties, your conduct naturally turns into a good one. So when it, then he says, how it turns into a good one is because of your mindfulness. You will see your misconducts, bodily, verbal, and mental, and therefore, when you see it, you will try to avoid them and then be mindful of them, and you will naturally have good bodily, verbal, and mental good conducts. So in that way, you will be now cultivating three kinds of good conduct. In order to cultivate three kinds of good conduct, you will have to have this alertness all the time. So when you have this alertness all the time, and when that alertness comes to a climax, then the blessed one says, you will not be with the good conduct, but your behavior will be based on the four foundations of mindfulness. Because you will have to be always alert on your body, you will have to be always alert on your mind. So when you become alert on the body and the mind, naturally your attention will be to yourself all the time. It will be bodily attention, attention to the feelings, attention to the mind, and attention to the general phenomena that takes place, right? So therefore he says the climax of three good conduct is the four foundations of mindfulness. Now we are discussing the four foundations of mindfulness. That is the topic that we have been discussing so far. Although we have done about 65 talks on this in English and about 85 talks in Sinhala, and all of them are in our YouTube, I have taken this opportunity to summarize those things once again. So we discussed the bodily conduct in few sessions, and we discussed the 14 types of 14 sections, 14 chapters we have to become mindful of the body. If I may signpost them, the sitting posture, or the being aware of the respiration or the breathing, and then the four postures, and then the full awareness or the clear comprehension. In other words, being aware of the semi-postures, and then the contemplation of the repulsiveness of the body, and then being mindful of the four elements, and then 9 charnel ground contemplation. And again, I'm just stating the fact that these have been discussed in detail in the previous talks, in this particular sutta, as well as in Sinhala and English mindfulness discussions. So you can go to them and listen to them. And then in the last few weeks, we were discussing about feelings. In the feelings, we discussed the 3 types of feelings: the pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feelings. And even those feelings we have divided into 2 categories, as the Blessed One has mentioned in the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The 2 categories are mundane feelings and then supramundane feelings. In other words, worldly feeling or the spiritual feelings. And in the whatever the feelings is, Buddha's advice is just simple one. He says, just be aware. Just be aware, irrespective of pleasant feeling, irrespective of unpleasant feelings, irrespective of neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. So since you are simply become aware of them, whatever the feeling it is, and since we are working in the spiritual sphere, we have discussed the spiritual feelings, spiritual pleasant feelings. And again, if I may just summarize the spiritual pleasant feelings that we have discussed in detail, the first absorption, according to the Satipatthana Sutta, and there the main thing is you will be bringing your attention to the main object, which is either walking or the sitting, or maybe even day-to-day activities. When you keep on doing that, what happens is you will be secluded from sensual pleasures or sensuality, and you will be secluded from unskillful qualities. And once you are secluded from these 2, sensual pleasures and unskillful qualities, then you will be very free. You will be very relaxed. As a result of that, you will have some you will have some rapture and you will be very blissful. And in the second absorption, what happens is you will drop the labeling, which we call applied thoughts and sustained thoughts. And then you will, by doing that, you will be conserving your energy, and that energy will get naturally invested in the rapture and the pleasure that you already have from the first absorption. So therefore, you will be more concentrated. So therefore, you will have a concentrated rapture and pleasure in the second absorption. And in the third absorption, or the third jhana, if I may say, in this, you will lose rapture as well. And when you lose rapture, since you are practicing mindfulness, and you will not start crying, and you will be equanimous about the loss of the rapture. And then that happens because you have continued your awareness to come out of the sensual pleasure. You have continued your awareness to maintain your labeling. You have continued your awareness to identify rapture and pleasure, or rapture and bliss. And then you have continued your awareness when the labeling was dropped. And then in the third absorption, you are aware that even the rapture is fading away. So this continuation is the clear comprehension, or the full awareness, or the fulfillment of the full awareness. So therefore, it becomes equanimous because of that full awareness. And then experiencing now is not only, he's not experiencing both rapture and the bliss, because the rapture is fading away. He will be so blissful. The energy that was there to enjoy rapture naturally gets passed on to the bliss, and he will be more and more blissful. So that bliss is coming now mainly from the clear comprehension and the equanimity, because this is where the equanimity gets introduced. And then in the fourth absorption, he loses even the bliss. And when the bliss is lost, he will be mindful of the equanimity. So therefore, he will have a refined equanimity in the fourth absorption. Once again, to annoy you, I will say I have discussed these things in detail in the past talks. So and even in many other talks. So you can listen to them and then take an examples and discuss in detail. So today's topic, after feelings, is the mind, being mindful of the mind. So when we talk about mind, first thing, and this is a very interesting area, because a lot of us are very interested about the mind, and we talk about the mind, and we exactly don't know what it is. And if you ask so many people, and there will be thousands of answers. And in one occasion, there has been a discussion with Venerable Ananda, and then the Blessed One, Venerable Ananda, has been giving all sorts of answers about mindfulness. And it is, of course, not a Theravada Sutta. It is in a Mahayana Sutta. So interesting how people think and what people think about the mind. It is, we think, it is only the people today are having such idea, but no, even before Buddha or during Buddha's time, people were having the same thing. Even Venerable Ananda himself has said. He has said, just to give few examples, he has said, mind is in the body. And then he says, no, mind is outside. And then he says, mind is in the faculty. No, mind is outside the faculty. It's been giving all sorts of answers. So it was so mind-boggling. So Buddha has given some ideas about what the mind is. So one of the supportive supportive discourse we can take is, it's not from a discourse as such. It is in Dhammapada. You may have heard that particular verse, Durangamang ekacharang asarirang guhasaya. That is the nature of the mind, according to Buddha. Right? It says it's one who subdues the wandering mind. That's the advice he's giving to that particular person. And he says, mind which strays far and wide, and strays far and wide, alone, bodiless, will be freed from the bonds of temptation. So this is the mind. So therefore, someone was talking about, in one of the clips I saw yesterday, the fastest thing in the universe. And the scientists are saying the light is the fastest thing. But if we really turn back and see ourselves, our mind fasts much faster than that. Mind goes much faster than that. Right? So we can take anything to our mind and keep enjoying that. Whatever you have eaten, whatever you have not eaten, whatever you have seen, whatever you have not seen, I don't want to go any further. You know how far it can go. So therefore, mind is having that sort of nature. And he very clearly says, it strays far and wide. So it doesn't stay in one place. And it is going all alone. You don't require a partner. For all of us, we require a partner to do something. But the mind does not want a partner. It is doing things on its own. He's a dictator and dictating all the terms to us. And the bodiless, don't try to look for a body for the mind. And material people are looking the mind in body. And then this is not given in the English translation, but in Sinhala it says Durangamang, which is straying far away. Durangamang ekacharang, going alone. Durangamang ekacharang asarirang, bodiless. Guhasaya, and it lives in a cave. That has not been given in English translation, or I have not taken it down. Whatever it is, it lives in a cave. So in other words, from this, it is clear that this is, if it is bodiless, it is sort of an energy. Mind is sort of an energy that energizes us, that activates us. It's like a car. Car is having a system to make the car run. And similarly, even our physicality will work only when we are energized by the mind. So that is what the mind is. And another sutta that I may quote to give an idea of what the mind is, the verse or the stanza, Pabassaramidam bhikkave chittang agantuke upakkilitta. Right? So what it means is, luminous because is the mind, is this mind. But it is defiled by adventitious defilements or the new defilements. The uninstructed worldling does not understand this as it really is, right? So therefore, what it simply says is, mind is luminous. It is bright all the time. But that brightness is taken away by the defilements that we are introducing into that brightness. So this is how we can understand the mind. And Lokuhamuduru, Venerable Dhammajiva, is giving another idea for this Pabassara. Pabassara means, he says, it has the nature of Prabhava. Prabhava means origin. So that is also quite possible explanation Because when we practice, we go to the mind. And when we get rid of the defilements, we go to the origin. So therefore, in the origin, it may be luminous, right? So therefore, it has both the meanings, and someone who is really practicing may be able to relate that. But when we look at the translations, both in Sinhala and English, all of them are saying, giving the meaning of luminous for Pabhasara. So all in all, what I simply want to say is, mind is having the nature of an energy rather than a physical thing. Right. So what do we do when we become mindful of the mind? Blessed One has very clearly explained, and he has given Disprin only. He has given Panadol only to the observation of the mind as well. What is the Panadol he is having? Pajanati, pajanati, pajanati. He simply says, be aware, be aware, be aware of whatever the mind is. That is what simply says. And he has identified about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 such minds, 8 such energy levels. And he says, for all these 8, you simply become aware. So the 8 things, I will just read it out for you, as is given in the 4 foundations of mindfulness. He says, monks, does a monk abide being aware of the mind as mind? Or how does a monk abide being aware of the mind as mind? A monk becomes aware, a lustful mind as lustful mind, and mind free from lust as free from lust, and mind hating as hating mind, and mind free from hate as free from hate, mind deluded as deluded, mind undeluded as undeluded mind, developed mind as developed mind, undeveloped mind as undeveloped mind, surpassed mind as surpassed mind, and unsurpassed mind as unsurpassed mind, concentrated mind as concentrated mind, unconcentrated mind as unconcentrated mind, liberated mind as liberated mind, unliberated mind as unliberated mind. So when we hear these things, sometimes one may feel, why the hell we do all these things for everything if we will have to simply be aware? What's the point? And the point here is, he is now, when he is talking about the mind, as we discussed from the beginning, from the advice to Kundaliya, when the Blessed One says, restrain your faculties, and we mentioned that the restraining of faculties is not done by the fear of anything. It is done because you have some wisdom relating to being restrained of the faculties. The wisdom is you see yourself, and that wisdom continues. And when that wisdom continues, it has come to the good conducts. And when, in order to maintain your good conducts, you will have to be mindful of your physical and mental processes. So when you become mindful of the physical and mental processes, what the Blessed One does is, he stops physical activities. He takes you to a stage where physical activities become still, where physical activities become calm. And when the physical activities become calm, he shows us, now your mental activities will start. The first mental activity that starts is the feelings. When your physical activity is calm, and you may feel feelings. It may be either painful feelings or unpainful feelings, or suffering feelings or unpleasant feelings. So when this becomes calm, you see the input, you see the engine, you see the boss who was handling the feelings. So in other words, let me put it this way, we use our body to satisfy our senses. So when your physical activities and verbal activities are stilled or calm, what happens is that satisfaction gets challenged. When the satisfaction gets challenged, from the satisfaction, what we have been looking for all the time is pleasure. And you want to have the pleasure. The mind wants to have the pleasure, but you are not active. You don't run up and down, you don't do overtime, and you don't dance, you don't eat, you simply sit like a log. Right? So the physical activity is calm and nothing is happening, and the mind is now very upset. What the heck this person is doing? And it is asking for food to keep you pleased. And that is what you observe as the pleasant feelings or the unpleasant feelings. Right? So when you observe, even when you come to this stage, that feeling stage is the bridge between the physicality and the mentality. So when you come to the bridge, you observe the feelings as well, and then do the same thing for the feelings. You bring the feelings to a level where it will become still. You bring the feelings to a level where it becomes calm. And when it becomes calm, it comes to this neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling level. So even at that stage, if you don't get agitated, so this pleasure principle gets completely challenged. And once it completely challenged, you can see there has been another person who has given orders to have the pleasure, to have the pleasant feeling, to have the joyful feelings. And that layer or that person is the mind. So in other words, what he does is, from the body, he gradually digs a tunnel to the mind. So when you go to the mind, so in other words, we can also explain the same thing in a different way. When you become mindful, what happens is, when the gross layers become subtle, you have this iceberg effect. From the iceberg effect, what happens is, when the top of the iceberg gets evaporated, because of the upward pressure of the iceberg, whatever below the water comes up. The same thing happens even in the practice. When you go beyond, when you go through the physical process, the feelings comes up. And then when you go through the feelings process, and the mind comes up. Right? So blessed one knows all the juggleries are done by the mind. But he doesn't put his hand straight away to the mind. He gradually approaches the mind in such a way the mind can be cornered. Right? So body is not taking any command from the feelings. Feelings are not taking any command from the mind, because what Blessed One taught us was, don't just do anything. You simply become a silent observer. Awareness means becoming a silent observer. You simply observe no matter what. And when you have especially unpleasant feeling, when you observe, it's a huge challenge to the mind. What we are doing all the time when we are living is because when we are living is reaction. We keep on reacting to unpleasant feelings. And in that manner, only we are compelled to look for pleasure. In fact, what we are doing is, we are not looking for pleasure, but we are suffering. We keep reacting, but we don't see the reaction. We enjoy the reaction and we call it pleasure. Blessed One, what Blessed One does is, you stop that reaction. you simply observe, then you see the underworld boss giving orders, like in Sri Lanka. And there are so many things are happening. No one knows who is doing what. The same thing in our system as well. And the Buddha is having the real spy mechanism. He has the real tool to catch the mafia boss. So he has cornered the mafia boss, stopping the physical activities, stopping the feelings activities. Now the mafia boss, of course, not the boss. The boss's close disciples, close allies are now outside. So when the feelings are gone through, you will have the lustful feeling. So you will see this pleasure seeking has been done because of our lustful feeling. And you will have so much of lust while practicing. And some of you may not be willing to tell them in front of the audience. You can't talk them. So many things are going within us. And some people have told me, I cannot imagine that I am such a bad person. Because when we practice, we are so calm, wearing white, observe precepts. But when the outside is open, or when the mind is open, you can't tell what is in your mind. Such a garbage. And similarly, the hatred as well. And the same person has told me, I can't imagine I have a murderer within me. And so much of things, I mean, these are not isolated incidents. All of you may have gone through. Those type of thoughts are coming. It's unavoidable. That is because you have gone through the physical process. You have gone through the feeling process. Now you are cornering the underworld. And now you can see the different departments of the underworld. The Blessed One says, even here, you don't start shooting. You don't go and fight. But some people says, if you have lustful feelings, you start contemplating repulsiveness. You start contemplating 9 charnel grounds. That is a reaction. In Vipassana, in insight, the Blessed One says, simply observe. You will have lustful feelings. I know that you will have lustful feelings. There is nothing wrong in it. You simply observe it. It's giving us a free ticket to enjoy it. It's your own drama. You simply see that. And otherwise we will have to pay money for it and then go and watch. Now you can see your own drama. But why he's saying that is because when your practice is developing, you really become so upset. You start regretting when these things are happening. And then you decide this technique is not good, or this meditation is not good, or this teacher is not good. So you will start changing the places, and you will have a long samsara. His Blessed One knows that, therefore he says, these things will happen. Don't worry. Simply observe it. Why? The mind is an energy. And we recently had a cyclone, right? And it was so windy. And of course, that wind was after downgrading it to a tropical low, right? Where does this start? We have the wind every time in the atmosphere. That's we will say it's an energy. And this energy will get affected by some factors. As a result, it will create fluctuations. There will have low pressures and high pressures. Because of them, the same energy will have a fluctuation. So it's the same thing that is happening. And our energy will turn into lust. And at the same time, when you observe it, you will be free from lust. This is the key in the practice. What is the key in the practice? Not observing lust. When you have lust, you definitely will observe. When you have hatred, you will definitely observe. when you have deluded mind, you will definitely observe because you know it's a defilement. What we all the time miss is not that side. We miss to be observant when we are free from lust. We miss to observe when we are free from hate. We miss to observe when we are undeluded. As soon as the lust is gradually dropping, you just finish all done and dusted. I am now a good person. My mindfulness is working so well. So this is such a wonderful thing. I should go and teach so and so. I should go and teach so and so. I should tell everybody to come to the temple. But the Dhammarakkhita is so good and all that. Those are the things that is going on. And you don't understand or you don't observe the fact that it is free. So therefore, the Blessed One says, when you become mindful of the mind, you observe it as if you are surfing. You know, when you are surfing, I haven't surfed, you ride the wave when it is going up. When it is going down, you ride that. So in that manner, so during Buddha's time, they have been surfing. Right? So he has given that example. You will have to observe the mind in that manner. You observe when you have lust, when the lust is reducing and when you are free from lust, you keep completely observing. And I am adding one more thing to that from the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And that is where the key is the Blessed One has given. When you have lust, you observe not only your mind, you observe your physicality as well. When you have lust, there will be some changes in your body, and you observe those changes, mind as well as the bodily manifestations. So when it is there, you observe both, and when it is subsiding, you observe the subsiding of both. So you will always have a relationship between the physical process and mental process. This is why the Blessed One says, keep the mindfulness to the fore, having the body as the focal point. Says, Ujung kayang panidaya. Kayang panidaya means take the body, physical process as the focal point and keep the mindfulness to the fore. So when you have the lust, if you see the manifestations of the body as well as the whatever going in the mind, then you will have the physical and mental, you will have your awareness to the physical and mental relationship, and you will be mindful as the Blessed One has recommended us. So, so in this manner, not only for lustful feelings, but hate as well as delusion, you will have to be mindful. So when you are practicing mindfulness in that manner, or when you become mindful of the mind in that manner, the mind comes to a different sphere. In this world, we will be governed by mainly these 3 roots of defilements: lust, hatred, and delusion. These are roots of defilements. So these roots are the ones that are working. So when we tackle those energies or energy fluctuations, and when we bring them under control, if I may use that word, in fact, what we are doing is not controlling, but for explanation purpose, I will use that word. One may come to a transitional stage. When you go from one country to another country, or one state to another state, there is an area called no man land. So it's neither New South Wales, no Queensland, neither Victoria, no New South Wales, neither Victoria, no South Australia. So there will have a no man's land, right? So even here, once you go through the mind, when you go from the worldly defilements area, before coming into the spiritual area, there is a no man's land. And that no man's land, Blessed One identifies as contracted mind and the distracted mind. Right now, this is something completely new area for the mind. Mind has never experienced a situation where the lust is under check, hatred is under check, delusion is under check. Now, when these are under check, that no man's land area is coming into the picture. And we call it in Sinhala or in Pali, Sankittang Chittang, Vikittang Chittang. Sankittang Chittang means it becomes contracted. It starts hiding. And it appears like you have no mind. It has completely faded away. You are simply sitting. You don't know what the heck is going on. And Vikittang mind means the other side. Because since you have gone through the delusion, and the mind is not active at all. Mind is active only if the mind is deluded. If the mind is not deluded, there is nothing to motivate you to do anything. So, okay, can I do this? Okay. So that sort of a mentality will be. You will be falling down, or you will be feeling that you are 100% sleep, and also say, no, I don't know whether I'm sleeping. I know it's not a sleep, but it looks like sleep. Because mind has contracted. I'm not sleeping. I'm not saying all sleepy situations are contracted mind. So this is a way we can explain, right? And whether that sleepiness related to contracted mind or not depends on how you present your report. So it may be the sleepiness situation may come even after contracted mind, when the mind progresses further. So I'm not going to go into that territory. So simply what I want to say is, when you have a contracted mind, when you go through this defilement roots of the mind, and you will have a situation called where you will not be able to identify your mind, which we call Sankittang Chitta, contracted mind. And then practitioner will be asked to continue. Practitioner will be told, find the practice is progressing. Definitely the practitioner will not accept it. But if he is having faith in the teacher, in the Dhamma, and in the Buddha, and in himself, that his practice is, although it is not what he likes, but it is going somewhere compared to where he was, he will be continuing. So when he is continuing, as this sutta says, Bhaveti Bahulikan, you will do it, and then you will keep on doing it so many times continuously. And because of that Bahuli Karoti, he will be coming out of this contracted mind. He will start saying, okay, initially he will be saying, I don't know, after 5-10 minutes, I just go to sleep, and I wake up only when the bell rings. And he keeps doing that for after 5-6 months. Although I'm saying 5-6 months. It may be longer, it may be short. He will say, the same thing happens, but more than once. And then after a few months, he says, it happens not once or twice, it happens every time. I fall asleep and then wake up, and then fall asleep and then wake up. I'm like a drunk person. I just can't keep my head up, right? So, which means he's going through this Sankittang Chitta, hidden mind, contracted mind. When he goes through this, these things happen, and then it will come to a point where he will be able to mindful when it really becomes starting contracted. So although I'm saying that he will be able to be mindful at the very beginning of being contracted, you will not know. Only thing you will know is this will happen repeatedly and very fast. And then the next thing that you say is, my mind is so disturbed. My mind is so distracted. I don't know where these thoughts are coming. It is scattered all over. Vikittang chitta. vikshipta vela. It is as if some, pepper spray has been sprayed into your brain. So many thoughts and completely not under control, and you feel that you are flooded with thoughts. That is called Vikittanchitta. And this is something I received when Venerable Dhammajiva came to this temple in 2006. My practice had developed to some extent. And my mind was all the time, so much of agitation. It's so anxious. And you feel as if you are going to go mad. Uncontrollable mental processes happening. And for my luck, I never knew him in 2006. Loko Hamdru invited him here for a few days, and we had some evening sessions. He was sitting like this, and straight I sat, like you are sitting, symmetrically to Bante, but not that far. You are too far. It was about a meter or meter and a half. And then I was there, and I just kept my eyes closed all the time. He was talking all jovial things. Everyone else was laughing, and then I was just practicing. And then he said, in one of the talks, Vikittang chittanti pajana. If your mind is scattered, accept the fact that your mind is scattered. And that day, I felt like a bird when I was going home. I was not driving a car. I felt like I'm going in a flight. It's so relieved after accepting that my mind is scattered. We think we have practiced meditation in the past. And those practices are coming and telling us, when you are meditating, your mind cannot be like this. Your mind has to be one-pointed, and it is clear, it should be pure, it should be white, and it should be so clean. And that is the suggestion that is coming from our own mind. Mind wants to create some reaction to the present situation. The Blessed One says, no matter what the circumstance is, don't create a reaction. Don't give a spark. Don't give an opportunity to have a spark. Mind is trying its level best. So therefore, when you have a distracted mind, simply accept as a distracted mind. It is easier said than done. But when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, and if your practice is mindfulness to the fore, then it is definitely easier. And if you have any other nonsense techniques, and if you do the practice using doing, then I'm very sorry. Then very sorry. It will be very hard for you to get to these stages. But as the Blessed One says, if you keep the mindfulness to the fore, you will be reminded sooner or later, even for this I will have to be mindful. So when you become mindful for that, no problem. Another wave of the mind, another fluctuation of the mind you are going through. So once you go through that, then we come to the gradually we are going into the developing stage of the mind, which they call developed mind and undeveloped mind. This is the funny thing. This is the funny thing. Blessed One is not saying once the lustful mind is gone through, your mind will be free. And he does not say that it will not come once again to lust. There is no guarantee as such. And this morning when he was talking, and we were talking about the very same thing, he said, even after practicing long time, you assume that you don't get any lust, you don't get any hatred, you don't get any delusion. But without your involvement, lust, hatred, delusion will come once again. Mind will not give up the game. Mind will putting them all the time. Then you should remember to become mindful. And also he added one more thing. Don't regret about it, especially when you are practicing, especially when the practice is developing. When the practice is developing, without our knowledge, mind will create expectations. Mind will create benchmarks. Mind will create targets. Okay, I will not get angry hereafter because my mindful mind is so good, and I can observe anything. I can observe my anger and all that. And I have had 3-4 times I decided that I don't have anger. Get annoyed in huge crowds with a big audience, and then then everyone start laughing. Onna bosta tadavela. They start saying, you are teaching mindfulness, but see what is happening to you. And when that mind is doing those things to put us down. And then if you get upset, then it's over. So when those things happen, it gives you an opportunity to gauge your practice. Then you know you have got to be more mindful. Of course, your mindfulness may be sharper. Now, what you will have to do is, you should not regret. You will have to be mindful of the regression. Lust, hate will come. They will not go away. And that will come to create suffering. Suffering is through the regret. And this is why the suffering is a noble truth. Now he reminded, you become aware, you become mindful of that regret that is created. And that regret, if you don't regret, you don't feed the lust, you don't feed the hate. It further goes down. And it is so serious, if I may bring the attain stages, in when you attain the third stage, which is anagami stage, and there the kamaraga patiga is eliminated, abandoned. That's the stage, right? In the second stage, kamaraga and patiga තුනී කරලා. මොනවාද තුනී කරලා කියන්නේ? මේ reduced, minimized, right? So we think everything under control. No, even at those stages, they will come up once again, he says. Because then only you can see whether you are really continuing your clear comprehension. Then only you will be able to see whether you are keeping the mindfulness to the fore or still have some elements of regret coming into the picture. Right? So, therefore, this way of clarity, only a Buddha can give. If we try to do this by thinking and by reading books, absolutely no way. Good luck. So the teaching the Buddha has introduced to this world is nothing but only 4 words for me. Those 4 words are ujum kayang panidaya parimukang sating upattapet. Keep the mindfulness to the fore, having the body as the focal point. The rest is done for us. Buddha has laid the path. Buddha has made the vehicle. Don't go around the vehicle and keep admiring the vehicle. That is what we do here. We go around the trees and keep on saying Itipiso Bhagava, and that won't work. There is no point reciting the qualifications of our teacher. There is no point reciting the superiority of the teaching. There is no point reciting the qualities of the people who have taken the medication. You take the medication. Then you will, if you keep mindfulness to the fore, you will get into the vehicle rather than going around the vehicle. And if you get into the vehicle, path is clear. Nothing has happened to the path. Path is very clear, path is there, and you will definitely go on the path. How fast you go depends. Your practice and what you have practiced in the past, and your reporting, and the teacher. There's a big part on the teacher. He has to be a person who is upholding the mindfulness to the fore, at least mindful. And there are so many teachers, 99% of the teachers, they are not upholding this. They have everything else, but not summairi, but not to do anything. They will ask us to do so many things. So may you have a wonderful mind to become a silent observer and complete this path as quickly as possible. Teruvan Sarana. Teruvan Saranai. Hope, I'm not quite sure how long I have taken for that.
Teruvan Saranai.
Teruvan Saranai. All right, so we can go for the discussion. And if anyone is having questions or anyone is having anything to discuss, you can shoot them now.
You know how you mentioned the jhanas and like the one, sort of like one, I don't know how you pronounce the word, but like the barrier part, like the I can't think of the word you used. Contraction.
Yes.
Yes, like this part would be only achievable through meditation, like through seated meditation.
It is not compulsorily seated meditation. It can come from many things. I have met people stages from yoga and from practicing from listening to chanting.
Yes.
Yeah. So those things are not necessarily sitting all the time.
Okay.
But majority is from such practices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything else?
Bhante, I'm Nilanta, and I have few questions about the three stages, like lust, anger, and delusion. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The delusion I learn as ignorance, and there may be a difference between delusion and ignorance. And if you can explain, because I was thinking like, okay, you have lust, or either you have anger, and in between, if you don't have both, probably you ignore, and that's the ignorance. And but what's the difference between delusion and ignorance? Like, it's just trying to understand that there may be a difference. That's why you use the term delusion.
Yeah, the delusion is the stage where hatred and lust and hatred is built. So the foundation of lust and hatred is delusion.
Okay, foundation of lust and.
Yeah,
you can't see prominent structure, but the foundation is still existing. That's what you're saying.
yeah. You will not see the foundation. You will see only the house.
Okay.
So once the house is destroyed,
Yeah.
you don't give a damn about the foundation.
Okay.
Just imagine a situation. There was a house, and when the house is there, all admiration will go on. And once the house is destroyed, are you worried about the foundation? No, there is no value to the foundation. So it's something like that. Even when we come out of lust and hatred, we fall into this situation where there is no lust and hatred. But since nothing is there, you start crying that I don't feel breath, you don't have any pain, you don't have any thoughts. You start crying. That is because the lust and hatred is reduced so much, and you don't get involved in anything. And that's a situation where you can't just, you become like a crab out of water or fish out of water.
Okay. That stage is delusional, or is that what you mean? Like how do you identify delusional stage? Like there's any qualities like very
Don't try to identify delusion.
Okay.
Trying to identify delusion is a suggestion of the mind. The mind knows you can be made very easily a lunatic by making that suggestion, because you can't go to delusion. You can't see delusion, but we can see hatred and lust, and the absence of hatred and lust is a delusion, and that delusion also you will say only if you are mindful. And you will not, if you are mindful for the delusion, you will not stay long in delusion, because since you are mindful, you will go through that. It's such a thin layer. So therefore, don't look for qualities, don't look for characteristics, don't look for function, don't look for anything in delusion. Be worried about the lust and hateful, and if you don't have lust and hate, then you are in, and if you are aware, then you are not deluded, you are undeluded. If you are deluded, you don't know. It's like, it's a situation where you feel like you are drunk. You have taken a couple of pots. Then you will be completely imbalanced. When you are walking, you walk like a drunk person, because you have come out of lust and hatred, and you are tapping the deluded stage, so you don't have a control. And the next is next you asked was ignorance. Ignorance is much broader idea. Of course, delusion possibly fed by the ignorance. Ignorance is the stage where you don't keep the mindfulness to the fore. Ignorance is the stage where you suppress your what do you call 5 hindrances. If you suppress your 5 hindrances, then you are ignorant. If you are not mindful, then you are ignorant. So that is avidya.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. The suppress senses means like you try to forcefully be mindful, like I can't.
No, it's not anything done forcefully. If you come out of observation, if you try to do something, then you become ignorant. Make sense? Suppose your leg is paining.
Yeah.
And instead of observing the pain,
yeah,
you adjust the posture.
Yeah.
So in that stage,
Yeah.
You have come out of observation, come out of mindfulness to the fore. But
Okay.
I'm not saying it will make you a 100% ignorant person.
Yeah.
But if you know that you are changing the posture, then you are mindful for that as well. You are observing the ignorance as well.
Yeah.
But if you do this, when you are, say, for example, you have some lust in your mind, then you start contemplating repulsiveness.
Yeah.
Then it is definitely suppression of the hindrances. If you have hatred, if you are practicing loving kindness, then it is suppression of the hindrances.
Yeah.
Blessed One says, let them come out, and you simply don't become part of it, simply observe.
Yeah. You're not proposing a solution, and you just try to aware it. Like you don't try to like put water to the fire or something like that. And you basically let it burn. The next question, you mentioned that next stage is like concluded, and like I might not using the exact words, and the two stages of mind, like very compulsive and distorted, or some like mind is everywhere, like it's like
Contracted and distracted.
Yeah, contracted and distracted. Long time observation of mind, actually, it's like kind of a waveform. Like someday you have contracted mind, and some other day you have distracted mind. Like it's a rhythm. Like can we plot this rhythm to identify how mind behave in future?
Can we what?
Can we identify this pattern to predict how mind behave in future? It's like
Sorry, the question is not clear. Can we
plot, or can we put it into form of a pattern?
did you say can we plot?
Yeah, plot or pattern. Like, can you identify the pattern? Like, this is like someday, like a weather. Like, it's just some days very calm, and some days very violent. And
Can I disturb you?
Yeah.
And ask a question. Are you doing there something or observing?
I'm observing.
If you're observing, you can't plot.
Because why you can't keep a memory of what has happened in the past? Because it's
people don't know what I understand what you are trying to say, but I'm still trying to discourage you. Go with the mentality of plotting. Go with the mentality of observing. And when you observe, what happens is plotting.
Yeah.
What happens is getting the details.
Yeah.
What happens is it will go to your memory.
Yeah.
But if you go with the intention of plotting or the mapping, then without your knowledge, you involve yourself in the observation unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So therefore, I discourage that thought, but what you are saying is happening, if it makes sense.
Yeah, because the idea is like, it is again likeness. Like people like calm mind, rather scattered mind. And if you have identified the rhythm, you can forecast. Like it's we are always recording in a present moment. But when
this is exactly what Blessed One is saying. You can't forecast. You can't control. You can't have benchmark. He simply says, when it is lust, you observe it as lust. When it is free, observe it as free. When it is hatred, observe it as hatred. When it is free, observe it as no hatred. Similarly, when it is contracted, observe contracted. When it is distracted, observe distracted. Don't have a preference to one over the other. As soon as you have a preference one over the other, what you are gradually trying to bring is underlying tendencies of lust.
Mm.
It is coming as a perversion of lust, because you like something and it's very justifiable from the way you present it, but perverted lust, cunning lust.
May I ask a question, please? I know that it's
No, Peter, 1 second. He's still talking, and then he'll come back to you.
sorry.
Yeah, Nilanta, go ahead.
Yeah, and the question I ask is like it's related with these upper levels of understanding, and like it's like
Yes.
I don't.
Understanding. Yeah, understanding happens when you stop all doing and when you let things happen. Right. So if you are able to come to such stages, then that is the understanding. You can't take the understanding, take the qualities of understanding or take the features of understanding and go and understand. Understanding will pop up. You keep the mindfulness to the fore. So your mind is trying, not only, although I'm using the word your mind, the mind of all of us is trying to come out of keeping the mindfulness to the fore. Mind does not want to keep the mindfulness to the fore. Then the mind knows that is the end of the mind. So therefore, mind is trying its level best to do something else.
Yeah, it's just yeah, I understand this the the mindfulness like it's like sati is a very powerful ingredient of mind. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's developing. It's have very limited avenue, like bringing to the present moment. That's the only moment you can develop that the specific thought. Like everyone like to keep it or grow it, but it's not easy to grow like the way the all other functions, like the keeping history, keeping think about future, forecast or hindcast. That's what mind like to do. And this bringing into this moment and observing, like giving that unsatisfaction. Mind gives always give that unsatisfaction. This thought, like this sati, it's not going to grow and like fulfill entire mind. It's not enough. And like you either do something for it. Those are the things mind always suggests. And yeah, that's one of the things. But I know the power of it, and if you don't practice it, that goes away very quickly as well. I know that as well.
Yeah.
But
so if you knowing both the sides of the coin is in itself is the knowledge. And earlier we knew only one side of the coin. We wanted only one side of the coin. Now you know both the sides of the coin. Still the mind is trying to have one side of the coin. That doesn't matter. That is how the mind works, and you are aware of it. But don't feed it. Don't provide any nutrition to it. And even when that is going in your mind, have a laugh and be mindful of that as well. And as you are spot on, mind is always trying to do something. When doing is stopped, mind loses its foundation. So therefore, the doing is the only thing the mind wants. May not be physical, may not be verbal, but at least it wants some imaginations. some mental involvement. Blessed one says, stop even the mental involvement. Visankara gatang chitta. Sankhara upekha. And you said it is very difficult to bring the mind to the present moment. I would say that is not the difficult thing. Keeping it to the fore is the difficult. When you keep it to the fore, only you come with the Buddha. Because before Buddha, mindfulness was there. But keeping the mindfulness to the fore was not there before Buddha. So keeping the mindfulness to the fore is even hard. It is harder. But you can do it. You can do it. And you are on the way. That is why you are crying. Because the mind is trying its level best to have a soothing situation, calming situation, blissful situations. That is mind's function. But your practice is progressing. So when the practice is progressing, you will see the reverse only. You will see the negativities only. Seeing the negativities is the purification. Janato passato asavanam kayam vadami. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. It's
Everyone.
thank
Peter, you want to say something?
Just my level of understanding, because I've been away for so long, I've still been trying to practice myself, but not been around like following exactly like what you have been doing. But I'm a bit confused when you say with the mindfulness, like to like just pay attention. Like say if you're having like if you're having like a feeling that's like a hateful feeling or anger or something, and you're like mindful of that, and you know it's there, and you know it's going to pass away or whatever. But if you can more easily like just replace it with something like that's happier or like kind or something, like in the mind, bring to the forefront like more like a compassionate feeling or like kindness or something. I don't understand why would you focus on the mindfulness?
Yeah. Now, in
Why would you
your
focus on the
case,
mindfulness that's of the negativity? I don't understand that.
No, in your case, this is only for you, not for the others. In your case, I would say yes. Right. So when you have a hateful feeling, you try to have. I will give you two options. First one, you try to have loving kindness thoughts, compassionate thoughts. Then when you feel that hatred is reducing, you stop the loving kindness feeling or loving kindness contemplation. You start labeling hatred.
Yeah.
So at some point, sooner or later, you should come to the stage of being mindful. Because when you open the Suraj pit, it starts thinking. So when it starts, just because it starts thinking, you don't close it again. By contemplating loving kindness, what you do is you cover the Suraj pit. But instead, you can let this stink come out and go out. And then if you pull the stuff and throw it out, then the pit will be clean. It can be clean.
Okay.
So therefore, but at your stage, since you are still not regular in the practice, I would say if it is unbearable, if you can't simply become mindful, then at least being mindful, you try to label.
Also, don't see the purpose in it. Is what I'm trying to get at. Is like, or in the sense of I don't understand. I sort of get what you're saying, like in a sense, but I don't
Yeah.
understand what's positive at all about
Yes. The positive.
focusing on any negative
Yes.
thought whatsoever. Wouldn't you want to you want to get rid of all the negative thought? So why would
Yeah.
you
So
focus on negative thought? I don't
yeah, this is
understand.
exactly what I'm saying. No, this is exactly what I'm trying to say. From that sewage pit analogy, when it is coming out, you just observe it is going out, then it will be cleansed.
Okay.
Otherwise, if it is not going out, yeah,
Just covering.
you are just covering and you are keeping it within you, but
Yes.
you don't see it.
Yes.
In this manner, it is difficult. It is thinking, but things are going out, so it will clean you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
the purpose.
Okay. Thank you very much, Theravada Saranai.
Everyone, Saranai. All right. Anybody else?
Hello.
Silence?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I have something.
Teruvan Saranai Sahan.
Darwan Saranai. I had some things to say, but I forgot.
Or you are confused.
Yeah, something I wanted to mention is, sometimes there is a habit when you are like paying attention. I know it's just a trick, but just wanted to mention, when you have attention or awareness, and it's like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, feeling thoughts, it might be, and you want to have more. It's gone, but you want to have more, like going back. What was I paying attention to? What was I being aware of? And that's something I wanted to mention. It's very can be subtle.
Yeah.
But yes. And the second thing, I felt a need to say this. You said that Buddha's teaching is very valuable and very good. But we see that people who are Buddhism or live in a Buddhist countries, no change, still same mind, still same hatred, violence, things like that, and other religions that claim that we are the best, whether it's Christian or Islam or whatever. Can we start first? Can we start that being aware of our motivation of why I am here, why I am listening to you, why do I want to do meditation?
Yeah, because you're mad. Because you're mad.
Well, yeah. Then
Yeah.
when you accept that, then you are. I mean, it's kind of the freedom or a degree of freedom comparing to saying first, I need to go because they say it's good for me, because I have to do this because it's good for me. Then your daily life, your meditation, everything become forceful. You are not free. You are doing meditation. Like it could be 1 hour a day. I do it. Sometimes I remember I've done like 2 hours, 3 hours a day, 3 hours a day, but no change or something.
Yeah.
As long as it is intentional,
Yeah.
yeah, I can say good luck.
It's just I'm saying just out of something I saw, out of maybe I need to share this. I think it's important. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Thank you for sharing. And the first one, you said one moment you're observing the pain, and then the thoughts and all, and then the breath if it is there, and then you just keep, and the next moment everything is gone. This happens when you get close to now. When you come closer to now, at that point of now, nothing stays for you, and you want to have more. That's the nature of the mind, to crave. Now you are not craving anything else. You are craving for mindfulness. Even that you can't have. That is because you are coming very, very, very close to that subtle point in the universe called now. And then let this happen. Okay, I can't hold on to anything, but I still just keep going. And then it will turn you upside down. And it will take you inside out. And so you are making a good point, and keep the practice. And keep observing. And then we will see what happens. So that's for the first one. The second one, it is a long one. And it's very, to some extent, philosophical as well. Irrespective of what religion, what caste, what country, what color we all are human beings. Irrespective of whether you live in a Buddhist country or otherwise, we all are human beings. All the human beings are driven by lust and hatred. So in some countries, these things are regulated. So once it is regulated, as I mentioned in the talk, out of fear, people adhere to those things. Then it looks like they are so peaceful countries. But especially in Buddhist countries, they have given the priority to the mind. So there are no such regulations, such social regulations as such. So then they become the worst people in the universe. So that is what is happening to Buddhist countries. And coming from that, your last point is what was the last point?
Yeah, I said coming and doing meditation or listening or whatever.
Yeah. Why you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that is because it's a maturity. When you are born as a human being, we all have physical and mental processes, and some mental processes are very mature, and they are able to see the things that we have around from a different perspective. And a lot of people are seeing them from lust and hatred. But for some people, they see that there is no end to lust. There is no end to hatred. To be happy, to have pleasure, we keep all our senses satisfied. But it never satisfies. It's like a bottomless bucket. And then you question yourself because of your mental maturity. You question yourself, where is this going to end? Then you think of alternatives for that. And when you think of alternatives, out of so many, for some people, they get this alternative of not doing anything. They get this alternative of observation. They get the alternative of mindfulness. And when you come to that, as Nilanta suggested, you don't do anything. There is absolutely no motivation. Now, Peter was saying you don't see a purpose of doing it. definitely there is no purpose, because our mind is seeing a purpose only in lust and hatred. Mindfulness is direct challenge for lust and hatred. Mindfulness is direct challenge for the foundation of the mind, which is doing something. Right? So therefore, when you become observant, your mental maturity start flowering. When it starts flowering, mind does not give up. Mind would try to disturb it as much as possible. So of course there is no motivation to do it. Of course you don't understand why you are doing it, but at the same time you have some understanding in the corner of your mind. This is much better than going out and doing something else. So it's in the back of the mind. But in the forefront of the mind is suggesting useless, you are mad, you just go and party. Just go and sing a song. You just go to a club and dance with a girl is much better than sitting 2-3 hours at home. So this Satan or Satan, you call it, as well as the if I may use the word God or Buddha, both are in our mind. So what will win? Who will win? Depends on whom we feed. So practicing 2-3 hours a day, you are practicing more than some of the monks. Not some of the monks, most of the monks. So you are feeding the God. You are feeding. I'm not saying a Buddha is a God. You are feeding your liberation. Although the mind is from Satan, from the other side, trying to pull you, and that liberation is not having any motivation, because you are challenging the lust and hatred. You are challenging the doing. Does it make some sense? I'm sure 100% sense. You may not, your mind will not allow you.
Absolutely. Although I have to say that the words, it's not the actual thing. But yeah, like absolutely. Even as you said, the mind can suggest you to go out, go to party, do something else. The mind can suggest you to stay home and do meditation also.
Yes. Yeah. So both the guys are there.
Yeah, exactly. But understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anuka, you want to say something?
Yes, Swami Mahansa. The no man's land that you mentioned in the talk, is it somewhere like you don't feel like the sense of like space and time, like you don't feel like you belong to anything, like you feel it's like is it like a space of emptiness where like you just don't feel like pretty much sense of like a time and space?
Yeah, you don't restrict only to that. These things may come up at different stages in practice. So whether you are in the no man's land or not will depend on how you present your report. So this no man's land, or the contracted and distracted mind, will appear to some extent even when your physical mindfulness develop. That will appear when your feeling mindfulness develop, and it will appear very broadly, mainly overwhelmingly, when the mindfulness of the mind develops as well. And also even after that. And then it will not be no man's land, but the features are the same. It may be something.
Yeah, because in my own experience, like it happens all the time. Like sometimes the best way to explain is like the perceived version of myself. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm this person's son, I'm this person's brother, or at work I'll perceive myself as this person's colleague, or like, you know, I used to be old friends of this person, and it could be someone that I have something against, like at the moment. But all that aside, sometimes I'm in my room and I don't get that perception of myself to anyone. Like, so
yeah.
that sense of no time, that sense of like no, no space and time. Like it's like I'm just there. Like I don't know where I belong. Is that what the no man's land is?
Mm, to some extent,
Yeah.
if you have
Mm.
been thinking something
Yeah.
and you have been observing what you have been thinking, and it will
Yeah.
come to a point
Mm.
that you don't have anything now.
Yeah. Because like
So that
yeah.
that point is the no man's land is really not this. This
Mm.
is purified. This is a stage beyond no man's land. In no
Okay.
man's land, you completely lose the senses. You feel as if you are isolated in a desert, or you
Mm.
lost yourself in the middle of the sea or in the middle of thick forest. But here, if you are aware that there is nothing, and that's something else. That is that you have gone little beyond that.
Yeah. Because I like when it happened, I used to freak out a lot. It's like, oh, like who, like where do I belong now? Who do I belong to? I don't have friends, like all that.
Yeah.
Over the time, you know, like, you know, I'll
That
just, yeah, I
that
would meet people.
freaking out is the distracted mind. But if you don't freak out and simply observe,
Observe,
you
yeah.
are going uh, from the no man's land. You are getting into the spiritual sphere.
Okay, yeah. I just have one more question to answer. What does vijnana mean?
Vijnana means it's. Let me put it this way: the mind is the most purified energy. Vijnana is the defiled energy.
So when you say, I'm always says like Angulimala had so much vijnana to become an arahant. I always wondered what that meant.
No, to become an arahant, you can't have vijnana.
Oh, is it? Well, I can't remember what the word was. All I heard
Maybe
was
prajna.
prajna. Yeah, maybe. There was somewhere. I think it sounded like vijnana, and I thought it was wisdom this whole time
It
or
is.
something.
It
It,
is no. Vijnana is not wisdom.
okay, okay. Yeah.
Prajna is wisdom.
Prajna is enough. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be also an answer. Thank you.
Teruvan Saranai. Okay, I think. Do we have anything here? No. And we can conclude the session today. And do you have the paper, Chatu, with you? Yeah, and we will get Chatu and Kusal to chant and ask the merits. We have today quite a few people join even in the temple, and even in the Zoom we have more than usual. And so we have generated a lot of positive energies from the practice, from the talk, from the discussion. We will pass these positive energies to the rest of the beings in the universe. For that, can I ask Chatu and Kusal to chant the stanzas? if by deed, speech, or thought. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see.